Okay, so you see the screen, everyone?
Looks very good.
Yes.
So welcome to the second CosmWasm community call. So this is, we're going to alternate them. If you didn't catch that one, we'll have every 4 weeks at this time, and then bi-week is alternating at a time which works for Europe and Asia. So Europe morning, Asia afternoon. So if you're in the US, basically plan every 4 weeks at this time. And if you're in Europe, you can get every 2 weeks. Or if you like waking up really early, you can check the other calls. So the topics of this meeting, I want to give a back rundown of what we've been up to recently, and then where we're going. So first, CosmWasm JS, JavaScript library, the mask and proof of stake support. I just released an article yesterday. I haven't, I think, promoted it yet, but you'll get a quick introduction to it here and what we're working on there, showing the possibilities of using CosmWasm contracts. A quick update on the Reagent Test Net, if anyone from that testnet shows up on this call, hopefully. And then our next plans, including our development plans and how we want to integrate with IBC. Very happy to see Zaki and Jack here. That are definitely working on IBC quite a bit, Game of Stakes and beyond. And after that, open question and answers for anything you have, any questions you have. So until then, if I'm talking too fast, feel free to remind me. Otherwise, questions for the end, please. So yeah, CosmWasm JS, we mentioned that the last call, and we posted a few things. It's our full stack library, well, not full stack, yeah, front end library, which ties in nicely. It talks to WasmD as a blockchain and CosmWasm for the smart contracts. And CosmWasm JS is the front, is an SDK. We wanted to make sure it worked everywhere in Node and browser, was well tested, and provide a simple API. So Simon and I have been working on it, largely Simon, and I've been banging it too, and trying out different use cases. So one use case was the full stack DApp example. So if you go to this name app, you can check it out. You can check out 2 different contracts and register names, query names, and transfer them. So you can make use of the contract. It will sign keys and submit transactions in the browser. So go to anytime you want to. I published an article on that, I think, a week ago. It was a simple React app, and most of my fighting for that was actually the React styling than the actual code. But it helped clarify the integration and show that we can pretty much easily integrate these apps into a front-end app. The SDK is now simplified, so it makes it quite easy. So I'd like, if you're interested in writing DApps and actually having your interfaces tied to your smart contracts, please check out that. Check out that code base, look at it, and then the code is on GitHub. So please do a fork it and rewrite the whole thing from scratch, because you're probably better React devs than I am. The next one is Wasm Glass Code Explorer. That's Simon's project. You might want to check out about that. But it basically is lets you do everything with the code. Do you want to jump in, Simon, for a second?
Yeah, so the basic idea is to provide a visual way to guide the user through the smart contracts that are on the chain. We know blockchain explorers that are specialized on sending money and governance proposals. And here we have an explorer that is really tailored to show you everything about smart contracts. It's a code explorer that works for every blockchain that integrates the CosmWasm module. So we have instances for it running against the Enigma testnet, our own demo net, as well as the Reagent Test Net. Yeah, it lets you see what kind of codes are uploaded, the instances, the interactions with the smart contracts, and everything you need to know to play around with smart contracts and use that as a second tool while you're working on some applications, because yeah, you can always double check if that transaction that you think you submitted really reached the chain and was executed.
So one thing I like about this, beyond just breaking down what is on the chain and what transactions belong to what contract, and very, very useful information, it auto-generates queries. If you upload the proper source code for your contract and it verifies it, it will auto-generate schemas, user schemas to auto-generate query helpers. So you can actually do typed queries, like querying a name service by name, or querying an ERC20 balance. So you can drop those in, and it will give you the results. So it will automatically generate that in the UI as well, which I think is a very cool feature. Although maybe a little bit experimental, it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it also provides you a way to very easily verify the source code against the compiled WebAssembly that was uploaded on chain. So we have a tool for that is called CosmWasm Verify, that performs a reproducible build and ensures that your local build result is exactly what is uploaded on chain. And this code explorer makes it very easy to just copy and paste one simple command to do that verification.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool stuff. Then the other thing is the CLI. Not just we have the front end app with Explorer, the front end consent transactions, we have CLI. So you probably don't want to use CLI for programming all the time, but a lot of people end up using the Go CLI for a lot of the daily interaction with code, and they also use it for scripts sometimes. So we have a Node CLI. I think basically the SDK, the CosmWasm.js, exposes a CLI, which is a Node REPL. You can run code there interactively. So there's a nice example we can look at later. If you go to this one, if you go to the repository of CosmWasm.js CLI package, it will have a few helpers showing you how to basically quickly create a wallet from a mnemonic. Then you can save it even insecurely. But basically, the idea is it can interact with the chain, query heights, query contracts, account balances, create messages, upload code, instantiate contracts, and execute contracts and query them, all with one line, await syntax very nicely. So it's a great way of trying out code interactively, seeing, debugging your contract. It's like a debug console once you deploy the contract. So you can interactively in a REPL, which is a read, evaluate, print loop. So basically interactive console. For Node, you can quickly interact the contract as soon as you deploy it without having to write any code in between them. So upload a contract, and then you start interacting with it live, which is very, very nice for trying stuff out and experimenting. That code then can be turned into Node.js code and just turn it into script if you want to script stuff, or you can use that as a basis for building an app like Wasm Glass or your D app. So I found it is a very, very useful dev tool, and quickly get a feel for things. We think we have a pretty decent stack here. We've showed how to build DApps. We've built a proper code explorer and a REPL, and would love to see active users give us feedback. So we try to document this stuff. The documentation is not all on the website. It's more Medium articles, and we probably should do more. But if anyone's interested in building out DApps or any sort of JavaScript environment, please try this out and write issues. Get back to us. Talk to us on Telegram. We really want feedback so we can tailor it to the needs of real users. So we think it's relatively feature complete. And this has really been where we've put most of our effort in the last 2 months, I would say, to really make sure we have the full stack thing.
Yeah, and when we're saying front end, it doesn't necessarily mean user interface. It means everything that connects to a blockchain as a blockchain client. So for example, we use CosmWasm.js to build a faucet that we then run on a server as a Node.js application. So that does not imply any kind of user interface, but it can.
Cool. Then the next one, getting back to blockchain level, is the mask and POS support. So I recently published an article yesterday on Medium about the mask. So check it out for more detail. What it is a one-of-one multisig or proxy contract that has an owner and will replay any message the owner sends as its own. So it will resend that message, redispatch that message with the sign or address of the contract, which this is really good to help demonstrate what the return value is. You know, you say you can return messages from your contracts in CosmWasm and you don't really understand the power of that. Well, all that the mask does is it says it will return what the user sends if you're the owner. It's but suddenly it allows you to use that mask as your account and send tokens or ERC20 token contracts, instantiate contracts, and you can even stake and bond and unbond with that thing, or create a validator. Any Cosmos SDK message can be sent from this one. The one thing it does have is it can transfer ownership, so you can change the owner, which means that that's what we call a mask. It's like a proxy. So I set a mask on, and the mask then can stake on my tokens. I could then sell you that mask for some price, and you take ownership of the mask. I get your tokens, and now you've basically gained control of my bonded tokens without the staking module even being aware of that. So you can read the article, check it out if you're interested in this stuff. It opens a lot of use cases that have been wished for a long time with one very, very simple contract. You clearly can replace that simple contract with a much more intelligent one for custom logic, but really want to show you how you can integrate the mask to start automating and controlling actual native SDK tasks. The one caveat there is it uses a thing called opaque message for resending stuff to the SDK, which is fine for clients to send, but it is not guaranteed to have a stable interface, which means you should not be using that in production code. It's great for prototypes or client side. So we want to figure out use cases people use and then create a stable API that we can actually deploy contracts that will run 1, 2, 3 years later with a stable API. Whereas the Cosmos SDK messaging coding seems to change and will change with the next release, the protobuf. So we want to, you don't want to tie a contract which is immutable to a changing protocol. So we're working the POS, the bonding, unbonding, reward collection, delegation. That is very interesting for people to automate. And a lot of people are trying to build around that, build logic around that. So beyond ERC20 token contracts, we want to expose that native functionality. And there's an issue on it. Please comment issue. We have a discussion, especially with Terra recently. It's very interesting that feature. So more people are really using that. We're very interested in those features. So I'm happy also for people to prototype that out, some contracts, to make it very clear what APIs you want, because when you freeze an API, you don't want to change it again. So we're trying to keep CosmWasm APIs stable, as stable as possible. And when you hit 1.0, there will be immutable APIs. So we're really trying to get a good generic API, which is future-proof, before you start stabilizing stuff into the CosmWasm API, keep it minimal. So yeah, if you're interested in integrating POS and writing contracts that can do, I don't know, staking derivatives or validated key rotation or index funds or other ideas like that, or an autumn, I don't know, whatever app you want to do on there, yeah, write an issue, try it out, try some code. I'm definitely happy. If you have something working, you have problems, come to me on Telegram or Discord, make an issue. Very interested to see what people can build on that. So the article really is a proof of concept showing what's possible. And it comes along with some JavaScript tooling using a CLI, so you can interact with this live. And you can try it out and you can play around with it in your console. So yeah, well, this should be in 0.8 release, hopefully. So Reagent Test Net. Is anyone from Reagent here? All right, well, speak up. Well, they've been started, I think, last Friday, a week ago, so 10 days ago they started, and they have 60 validators up and running. They've deployed a whole lot of ERC20 contracts. They instantiated a bunch of tokens on it. The Reagent.wasm glass site is full of contracts and transactions, all kinds of stuff. So they've banged on this. They've actually got it working. They've got 30-something people, most of who are more DevOps than devs, using the tooling. So that's really cool to see this is usable. Definitely push some docs. We need better docs in places. And it's been stable with, yeah. The one real usability issue was something we had fixed actually in a patch the same day as the release, so it was not in the release. Ended up getting to it, which is re-uploading the same WASM contract, same WASM bytecode with different same WASM. We had rejected error, now it's non-error, and that actually helps usability a whole lot. Otherwise, it seems pretty solid, and no complaints on it. People are curious about how to use it. So yeah, I'm happy for an update from the team there. But if no one's there, I'll just say to check it out if you want to. They'll be running actually upgrades. I think the normal Cosmos SDK upgrade, in-place upgrades, and then running more CosmWasm contracts on top of an upgrade thing. So it's pretty close to get to a real production environment. So happy to see that running well. Next steps. So where are we going next? We've basically the demo net. We had deployed a demo net, and we had the issue of the re-uploading WASM code, which is really annoying for demos and people that were new trying to figure out what to upload, and the error it returns wasn't very helpful. So yeah, we basically allowed people to re-upload code. We're going to reboot the demo net hopefully tomorrow, wipe it clean. No one's using it too much. So, so yeah, it's a demo net, and start again with another one which is easier to use for demos. That allows re-uploading of code, so you can have the same workflow the first time or the 7th time. But you can just upload a contract and runs, and don't have to worry about changing workflows based on what's up there already. So that's the deploying of WASM D071, maybe 72 out soon. And really starting this week, trying to focus on CosmWasm 0.8. We cut a 0.72 release, or Simon did yesterday, and both of us have started working on 0.8 features. That includes a lot of cleanup. It includes probably JSON interfaces enhancements. But the two big things I've requested are iterators exposed to the modules. So you're not just getting set, but you can iterate over keys. So you can get a range of keys, which is also used for queries especially. Show me all accounts, or show me all accounts names, registered names that start with foo. Those are useful features usually. And yeah, so we'll work on that. And the other one is queries, cross-contract queries. So we're querying from one contract to another contract, or querying state, which is also a very useful thing to have. Those two will be starting this week. And I don't know what the time frame is for that, but we'll be getting those issues. They'll be on master soonish. So you can follow along if you've been waiting for these issues. And we'll also start looking into investing in IBC integration, preparing for it, and looking at it. I've been talking to devs. I was talking to Jack before, and he can maybe add some more in the Q&A session. But yeah, so probably not stable till next week, sometime next week, a few more features we need. And then we can start looking at how much that is. I know the IBC alpha branch is pretty far ahead of 0.38, not just IBC, but also protobuf and various other refactors. So it's going to be a fair bit of Go focus. So I'm trying to knock out some Rust code first, and then get into that. I'll be jumping at some point. Given that, so our next steps is assuming we can just keep coding. Just an update here. So we've been working full time. Simon has joined in like 2 months now, a little over 2 months now, working full time with us as well. We have not had funding, external funding, since early February. So we've basically been just self-funding this for our time, or working for savings. It's a cool project. I'm glad we've gotten a lot of adoption and people like to use it and are building at it. So we're definitely looking for financing options, especially if people want to use it in production and want help deploying stuff and building out some custom contracts. We're definitely very willing to do consulting work on that stuff, and see this in production environments and real use cases, because I think it's very good for us to focus on some real use cases as we get beyond this. We've built out the basics of the platform. It's pretty stable. We can add more features, but the features should all be based on real use cases and not on us imagining some possible use case, but really tailored to real large use cases. So yeah, so if you're interested in supporting this work somehow and want some help with your project, talk to us, please. Anyway, so assuming we keep going on this, IBC plans. So we've had some nice discussions here with the core dev team. That was especially with Chris, and I did a presentation in Berlin a month ago with many of the devs working on IBC, and worked out this defined IBC interface, which was very nice. You can check the issue out. Some aspects there were dynamic port allocation, which I think Jack was saying they're working on this week pretty heavily, which is awesome. Also versioning and version negotiation on the channel level, not the connection level, on the channel level. So it's possible that a contract speaks, who knows what protocol it speaks? Now, the bank speaks ICS-20, but what does the contract speak? And maybe the contract speaks two protocols. It speaks the ICS-20 to talk to the bank module, but it has some custom one for doing more complex, token-specific logic as well. So you can connect to it either as bank or as ERC 792, whatever thing. So we're gonna have that. Those features should be rolled in there, and they're getting worked on in the core dev, which is awesome. And so we want to integrate those into our IBC implementation when they get there. We've also moving for the ICS-23. I finished up some proof format stuff recently, and will hopefully help integrate that, advise integrating that into IBC. This is a generic, well-specified protobuf format for encoding Merkle proofs. There's some other JSON formats before, but this is pretty generic one. It can represent different trees and tries, and what this can do beyond having a portable way of doing IBC is it can help front-end light client. So a JavaScript light client actually be able to verify Merkle proof. Right now, it is a GoAmino encoded out structure which is returned from IVL tree, which is actually, I tried deciphering that, and without that Go code, it's really, really hard. So it's a really cool structure. It's really compact and really optimized, but it's really hard to decipher in any code but the original source code that created it. So so anyway, just saying that we're working that should hopefully open more doors there. And we hope to have, knock on wood, at least a prototype version of CosmWasm integration by Game of Stakes. Depends a bit on our speed and depends on GOC timelines, but it'd be awesome to have at least some integration of uploading modules by that time. So I'm not sure what stability all the code will be in, the SDK code either, whether we're in master or IBC alpha still. But yeah, definitely hope to have something by then. But the current focus is getting some good progress on 0.8 features in Rust, and then move over to IBC. So because 0.8 features, we can release actually another production release based on 0.38 Cosmos SDK, which then allows people actually using it, the few testnets out there, the people using this stuff in towards production, to have a new features which are on a production path. Whereas IBC is, I think we'll have, even if it's stable, it will not be really production path until it has a tagged release or two of Cosmos SDK, which may take a while, definitely more than a few weeks. So yeah, that's not a complaint. There's a big changes going on, and after 38, there's a lot of big changes going on. So IBC and protobuf is huge and awesome, but I think we don't want to block our next production release on that one. So yeah, that's an update for today. Questions? Open mic now. And at the end of this, I can make a mic record off phase too. Maybe Jack wants to give a little update on IBC speed, if he wants to drop a line there.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone would like me to give a quick relayer demo and kind of talk about IBC, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe an update on a quick update on the timeline, or how things are going, just the relayers out there. I don't need a live demo, but just like, yeah, just
yeah, for sure. I'm like trying to pull in this live demo, get some folks on the test net. So for timeline, I think we're going to open up Game of Zones registrations this week, potentially as early as tomorrow. Zaki, is that correct? I think that's correct, based on my current understanding of where we're at.
Yeah, we're aiming for sometime this week to open up Game of Zones registration. We're looking at something in the last week of April as a launch date for Game of Zones.
But as far as technical risk for that, I think we are substantially through all of the issues that were major in blocking. And the fact that this dynamic capabilities work has come together so quickly, we had the existing ADR. Bez was able to complete the implementation, and now we're wiring that up with IBC. We're in a much better place than I really thought we were going to be. So yeah, I think there's relatively little technical risk for that late April Game of Zones start. And what I'm going to be focused on over the next month is ensuring that the relayer can support things like CosmWasm and all of these fun use cases, as well as provide good metrics and telemetry about the broader IBC network.
Cool.
So that's my update.
Awesome. That's
Another piece that'll be relevant to your timeline, Fry, is the most relevant piece of Game of Zones to CosmWasm is going to be the last phase of Game of Zones, which is like where we're going to focus on like application specific protocols and like sort of you know, the ways in which the IBC security model like puts burden on the edge of the network, whether it's zones or clients, to kind of defend themselves, or like end users to defend themselves against malicious zones. And that's probably going to be the part. So, and the rules that I've been sketching out allow for players to make code updates on the Friday before every phase. So you're going to like, you know, update their binaries essentially on their full nodes, because we are going to have to run full nodes for all of the participating zones, which is going to be insane and fun. So based on that idea, you do have something on the order of like 5 weeks to kind of probably have whatever, if you want, if you or anyone else wants to participate in Game of Zones using this,
I definitely do.
Using your code. So just giving you a sense of the timeline, you have about 5 weeks.
Awesome. That's great updates there. Good things. And I can upgrade it once a week to add more features into it. It's also very nice. So yeah, I'll throw this out there that I would love to participate in Game of Zones. I definitely want to help run a network. So meaning I can also be updating this rather quickly and you know, running it and debugging it. And also if anyone else wants to join that, let's talk to me after this or jump in now. But I definitely want to get a small network out there running this really cutting edge. Got some awesome there. That'd be awesome.
I have some other questions that I want to talk about.
Definitely.
So there's a bunch of CosmWasm stuff that I think is relevant to IBC. One thing that I've been talking about with the Chorus One folks is the idea of using CosmWasm as a way of implementing ICS2, especially for things other than Tendermint. And I'm just curious what you think about that.
So ICS2 is the one for the proofs, right? The header.
It's the light client. It's the light client.
Light client. You cannot use, I believe, a contract as written.
Okay.
But I definitely would like to make another interface for that. To step up one, basically we looked at the handler interface. If you see the interface of handler. So a contract more or less drops into the handler interface. It's our module, right? Like as a handler, it has a query, right? Expose those two things. So expose the handler and the query interface. So I think you could kind of repurpose one you could try to repurpose one, and we could actually sketch it out like that with the handle interface being, you know, append new header, and the query interface gives give me last header. So we could possibly do that actually. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad. But I was thinking maybe it makes sense to have a different interfaces tied just to this verification. But actually maybe the handler interface is general enough to say all the changing code would go through handle and all the read-only code goes to query. But yeah, so, and then I don't know what the model is also for like how you trust those things, uploading them. But if you don't want to use that same CosmWasm interface exactly as is, it wouldn't be hard to just change the tooling a bit to give us different interface. The interface, I mean, basically the call signature between the blockchain Go code and the WASM code. We can definitely have a different call signature for something like, you know, light client verifiers.
Sweet. Yeah, and then I mean, I think the other big area to sort of experiment with and that's very exciting is sort of application layer protocols that where the router routes the the verified packets directly into a contract, and the contracts can generate packets.
Yeah, that's what I've been really interested in. Very interested in that one. So that's what I was talking with Chris, and the contract connections and sending stuff over there. Definitely very excited about that one.
And I'm sort of cautiously optimistic about using CosmWasm in some component of cross-chain validation.
Cool. Sounds good. I think you've been working that much harder, so I'll definitely talk to you when we've gotten some simple contracts. Definitely interested to hear that goes. Let's talk more. Cool. Thank you both for that IBC update. I want to hear if anyone here, the other thing I was talking mainly besides was CosmWasm JS and support for proof of stake in contracts. Just curious if anyone here wants to jump in on either of those points. Just curious about those. Okay, well, I'll just say that I'm, so probably writing code now, but I'm definitely interested in, if there's some actual use case, knocking out some of those proof of stake contracts. So if you read the Mask article and are inspired by that and want to work on it, start writing something out and give me a ping. I'm definitely happy to drop some ideas or code reviews, stuff like that on it. Because I would love to see a mock-up, and I was thinking of doing it myself and figured I have other things to focus on now. But yeah, like a simple index fund or something like that, which offers shares. I know these liquid staking things are coming up from a number of discussions. So it'd be cool to have even a poor man's one done as a simple CosmWasm contract, which the bonus here is, I think one of the big bonuses of CosmWasm is even if integrate to native, the blockchain. So if you tie things are heavily tied to native blockchain, it's basically, you can sketch out code that that would require updating the whole binary, right? And so it's hard to get the binary updated, and people don't want to update it until they know it's working. So it's cool to be able to sketch that in a contract, try it out on some network really easily, and when it actually works or you've debugged it a few times and everyone's happy with how it flows in real life, you can just port that over to a Go module later on. But you've actually gotten the whole workflow, the business logic is spec'd out. And the core part of the module is then written, and you just like translate over, and it's the whole validation of business use cases already done, which I think is one of the biggest parts of much of the stuff around staking, discussions and figuring it out. So I think it's a really nice idea. Personally, I think for prototyping a lot of these ideas on staking, which remain as prototypes and ideas discussed and eventually come to Go binary, and then it's immutable, it's too late to change it. So especially if you have things like upgrading contracts, which is on their wish list somewhere. Along with that, and just trying this out and grab some test net or low value network and play with this stuff on it. And you can cancel contracts if it's too bad, or change it if it's being abused. And when it's no longer abused, then you have much more security of it launching on a real network, like a major value carrying network. All right, so I'm gonna stop recording now.